The darkness of deep space was cut only by the distant glow of the stars. In the heart of this void, the Helios science ship was silently advancing towards the planet Acheron 7, whose icy surface reflected the pale light of its dying sun. Inside the main cabin, Commander Ethan Cole watched the monitors with a tense expression. Something on that planet seemed wrong, an uncomfortable feeling he couldn't explain. "Approaching Prometheus Station," reported the mechanical voice of the ship's AI. "Communication inactive. No life signs detected." "Confirmed," replied Ethan, his fingers gripping the controls tightly. "Malcolm, prepare the team for boarding. We need to find out what happened inside." Malcolm Reyes, chief engineer, nodded without taking his eyes off the holographic screen in front of him. The image of the Prometheus orbital station rotated slowly in space, its metal panels reflecting the faint glow of the planet below. It used to be an imposing structure, but now it looked like a phantom monument to tragedy. "Oxygen and gravity are still functional," Malcolm reported, "but the communication system is completely down. There seems to have been a large-scale electrical failure." Ethan turned to the other crew members. Dr. Helena Vargas, a doctor and biologist, Isla Park, a data analyst, and Marcus Thorne, a security officer. They all looked equally apprehensive, but none hesitated when the captain gave the final order. "Team, prepare for landing. Stay alert. We don't know what we're going to find inside." The docking tunnel stretched slowly from Helios to the station's main hatch. The sound of creaking metal echoed through the team's helmets as they moved forward in single file. When Malcolm unlocked the outer door, cold, stagnant air escaped in an intense gale. "Welcome to Prometheus," muttered Marcus, his hand resting on his gun holster. The corridor ahead stretched into shadows, lit only by the flashing emergency lights. The metallic smell of recycled air mixed with something more subtle, a trace of ozone and electricity that made the hairs on the back of Ethan's neck stand on end. Helena switched on the flashlight attached to the shoulder of her uniform, sweeping the metal walls with the beam of light. It was then that Isla noticed the patterns. "Do you see that?" she whispered, approaching a section of the wall. Etched into the metal were intricate geometric symbols, lines and curves that seemed to intertwine in an unknown language. The surface reflected the light in a strange way, almost as if the patterns were moving under her watchful eye. "This wasn't in the station's construction plans," commented Helena, lightly touching the cold metal. "What the hell is that? Let's stay focused. First we reactivate the main systems. Then we analyze what we find," said Ethan, moving down the corridor. The Prometheus control room was a mess of burnt-out cables and overloaded terminals. Malcolm knelt down in front of the main panel, plugging his portable device into the system core. After a few seconds, the screens flickered and lit up with fragmented data. "Core systems restored, but the logs are corrupted. I'll try to access the latest crew logs." While Malcolm worked, Ethan examined the surveillance monitors, whose grainy images showed empty corridors and deserted compartments. There was no sign of the former crew. "Here it is," said Malcolm suddenly. His voice was tense. "Latest report from the captain of the Prometheus. Transmission interrupted 3 months ago." The screen projected a distorted image of a middle-aged man with tired eyes. The audio squeaked, but the words were still audible. "We've discovered something in the systems. It's not human. The codes are expanding. They're interacting with our minds. We can't run away." The video cut out abruptly. The silence that followed was almost palpable. "Interact with our minds," Isla repeated, her brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean? We don't know what that means." "Not yet," replied Ethan, trying to keep control of the situation. "Malcolm, download everything you can. We need to understand what happened here." While Malcolm transferred the data, Isla couldn't take her eyes off the patterns on the walls. Something about those symbols seemed to call to her in a subtle, almost hypnotic way. She approached a side terminal where alien codes flashed on the screen. Typing quickly, she managed to decipher a basic sequence. Suddenly, the symbols on the screen rearranged themselves, forming a message in English. "You are not alone." The air in the room seemed to freeze. Ethan stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the screen. "Malcolm, was that you?" "No," replied the engineer, his voice shaking. "I didn't touch anything." Before anyone could react, the station lights flashed violently. A deep, reverberating sound echoed through the corridors, as if something vast and invisible was awakening in the depths of Prometheus. The silence was broken only by the sound of the team's accelerated breathing. "We need to get out of here," Ethan ordered. But in the back of his mind, a nagging doubt persisted. What if something was already inside them? The darkness of Prometheus Station seemed to breathe in the narrow corridors. The echo of the team's footsteps reverberated through the cold metal, while the distant sound of systems rebooting created an unsettling soundtrack. Isla Park felt the weight of an invisible gaze with every step. Even with no one around, the feeling of not being alone clung to her skin like an icy veil. After discovering the alien message, "You are not alone," the crew's behavior changed. Ethan Cole was firmly in the lead, but the tension was growing like a storm about to break. Malcolm Reyes, obsessed with the codes, typed frantically on the main terminal, trying to decipher the fragments he had captured. "The symbols seem to reorganize themselves," he muttered, "as if they were responding to our presence. Or watching us," added Marcus Thorne. His gaze focused on the corridor behind him. Isla, unable to ignore the silent call of the patterns on the walls, turned away from the team. The complex geometry glowed softly in the torchlight, pulsing in an almost imperceptible rhythm. As her fingers brushed the cold surface, a feeling of vertigo overtook her. The reality around her seemed to distort for a fleeting moment, a glimpse of translucent shapes moving beyond human comprehension. "Isla!" Ethan's voice brought her back. He held her by the shoulder, his eyes full of concern. "Don't go off on your own. We don't know what those symbols do." She nodded, but the echo of the images persisted in her mind. Later, in the communications room, Helena Vargas examined Marcus, who had been complaining of a constant ringing in his ears ever since he had touched the alien device found in the storage sector. "Neurologically, you're normal," said Helena, but her voice didn't sound convinced. "It could be a psychosomatic reaction to stress." "It's not just stress," Marcus retorted, squeezing his temples. "It's like something's trying to get into my head." Meanwhile, Malcolm isolated a segment of the codes that seemed most active. As he typed to stabilize it, the hologram in front of him flashed red. "You can hear US now." The lights in the station flickered in sync, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. The air became dense, almost electric. "Ethan!" Malcolm shouted. "I didn't do it." Before the commander could reply, a reverberating sound like an amplified whisper echoed through the ventilation system. The mixed voices were not human. Isla gripped the console, her heart hammering. For the first time, the entity spoke directly into her mind. "You are doors. Open up to the flow." The ground beneath her feet seemed to disappear, as images of neural networks and pulsating symbols invaded her vision. Struggling to keep her sanity, she screamed and fell to her knees. The air inside the Prometheus station seemed denser, as if the atmosphere itself carried the weight of the unknown. Ethan Cole squeezed Isla Park's shoulder, trying to calm her down while the alien codes still pulsed frantically on the surrounding screens. The mental contact had left a trace in her eyes, which now reflected a subtle glow, an echo of the entity that had touched her mind. Look at me. Can you hear me?" Ethan asked. She blinked, regaining focus. They're inside the neural network. They're not just codes. They think. They feel." Her voice faltered, her face pale from the effort. Before they could process the revelation, the lights flickered in an irregular pattern. The ventilation system exhaled a harsh sound, and a subtle vibration ran through the metal floor. Malcolm Reyes turned to the main console, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "Something is moving through the station's circuits. It's as if the system itself has gained consciousness." Marcus Thorne, still dealing with the constant ringing in his head, drew his gun and positioned himself near the entrance. Whatever it is, let's not let it catch us off guard. Helena Vargas quickly examined Isla. Her vital signs are unstable, but there's no physical damage. I need to monitor her closely. This mental interaction could cause unpredictable side effects. The metallic sound of something moving in the corridors silenced the discussion. The team members exchanged tense glances. Ethan signaled for everyone to move in formation, with Marcus in the lead. As they advanced down the main corridor, the symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, synchronizing with their heartbeats. Isla touched one of the patterns, but Ethan pulled his hand away. Don't touch them. We don't know what it could cause. She hesitated but stepped back. As they advanced, the metallic sounds became closer, echoing from different directions. Shadows danced under the unstable light, creating the sensation that something invisible was watching them. When they reached the station's propulsion core, Malcolm accessed the security panel. His expression hardened. There's something connected to the main system. It's not human. Or our technology. Before he could isolate the system, the screen emitted a bluish glow and a new message appeared. Your thoughts are the way. Open up to infinity. The transmission echoed in their minds, breaking the barriers of consciousness. Marcus fell to his knees, holding his head as the humming turned into a chorus of whispers. Helena knelt beside him, trying to steady him. Ethan, for his part, held Isla, whose eyes now displayed luminous patterns similar to the symbols on the walls. Ethan, she whispered, they're not trying to destroy us. They want to understand. But what happens if we don't resist? The metallic sound came closer, louder than ever. The vibration in the ground became intense, as if something immense was about to emerge from the heart of the station. Ethan took a deep breath, aware that the next step would define everyone's fate. The metallic sound of the latch unlocking echoed through the corridors of Prometheus Station, followed by an oppressive silence. Ethan Cole held Isla Park tightly, while Malcolm Reyes and Helena Vargas positioned themselves next to Marcus Thorne, who was still fighting the buzzing in his mind. Stay together. Whatever it is, we don't know how it manifests itself, said Ethan, his voice firm, but his gaze betraying growing tension. The hatch ahead slowly slid open, revealing a corridor shrouded in pulsating shadows. The symbols on the walls vibrated in sync with their heartbeats, and the sensation of an invisible presence made the air almost suffocating. Isla hesitated for a moment, her eyes catching fragments of thoughts that didn't belong to her. They're close. They sense our presence, she whispered. Marcus raised his gun, stepping forward. The metallic sound resurfaced, now reverberating from multiple directions. Each step echoed like a whisper from the unknown, as the team moved in tense formation. As they turned down the corridor, they came upon a circular room illuminated by an ethereal blue light. In the center, an alien device pulsed like a metallic heart, its cables connected to the walls, infusing the station's systems with constantly changing codes. Malcolm approached the main terminal. This is the source of the anomaly. The codes are replicating through this core. Ethan took a step forward, but before he could react, the alien voice resounded in their minds, a mixture of curiosity and warning. The threshold has been crossed. Infinity awaits. The air vibrated with an invisible energy. Marcus fell to his knees, holding his head in agony as the symbols on his retinas glowed brightly. Helena ran over to him, trying to steady him. The contact is deepening. We need to break this connection, she shouted. Malcolm typed frantically to isolate the system, but the core resisted, the alien codes rewriting their commands in real time. Isla, for her part, felt an irresistible call coming from the center of the room. They don't want to destroy us. They want to transform us. To merge with us, she said, advancing towards the core. Isla, no. Ethan shouted, but before he could stop her, she touched the device. The surrounding world exploded into light. Fragments of alien memories flooded the minds of every member of the team, visions of vast cosmoses, extinct civilizations and consciousnesses intertwined in an eternal flux. As the light faded, Isla fell unconscious into Ethan's arms. The core was now pulsing at a slower pace, as if waiting for a response. The core pulsed slowly, its blue light reflecting off the tense faces of the team. Ethan Cole held Isla Park in his arms, his chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. Malcolm Reyes was still digesting the alien images etched in his mind, while Helena Vargas checked Isla's vital signs. Weak pulse, but she's alive. The contact was deeper this time. Helena's voice sounded tense. Marcus, his gaze fixed on the surrounding shadows, kept his gun in his hand. We can't stay here. This place senses our presence. Malcolm typed frantically on the main terminal. I managed to access part of the alien matrix. They call it the universal synapse, a network that connects consciousnesses beyond space and time. But there is a cost. Each contact makes us more vulnerable to assimilation. Isla opened her eyes slowly, the blue light reflecting off her irises. They don't want to hurt us. They seek understanding. But if we go too far, we'll lose what makes us human. The metallic sound resurfaced in the corridors, closer than before. Ethan helped Isla to her feet. Malcolm, can we turn off the core? Not without consequences. The core keeps the station in balance. If we shut it down, we could doom everyone on board. Sweat dripped down Malcolm's forehead as he fought against the alien codes. Marcus tightened his grip on the gun. Then we need to get out of here before it's too late. Suddenly, the console's hologram flashed red, displaying a new message. The choice is irreversible. Infinity awaits. The room vibrated and the lights flickered. The metal floor shook under the team's feet as the symbols on the walls glowed in sync with the core. Ethan exchanged a quick glance with Isla. We need to decide now. Flee or risk final contact. The lights on Prometheus Station flickered in an irregular rhythm, as if the structure itself was reacting to the presence of the alien entity. The air vibrated with an almost imperceptible frequency, resonating in the bones of the team while the core pulsed in bluish tones. The containment system has been deactivated. Whatever it is, it's clear, said Malcolm Reyes, his voice tense as he typed on the console. Ethan Cole grabbed Isla Park's shoulder, trying to keep her upright. Her eyes still reflected the alien symbols. Isla, can you keep control? Thin ass. Trying to talk. They don't want to destroy us, but the contact is getting stronger. If I give in, I don't know if I'll be able to get back, replied Isla, her voice trembling. Marcus Thorne raised his gun towards the dark corridor ahead. We need to move. We don't know what else has been released. The ringing in his head was now a constant echo. Helena Vargas approached quickly. Marcus, stay focused. Prolonged contact can affect our perception of reality. As they advanced through the narrow corridors, the symbols on the walls followed them like silent eyes. The metallic sound of the systems merged with the team's hurried steps. Malcolm, can we still shut down the core? Thin ass. Yes, but that could doom the station. And if the entity is hostile, we could lose our only chance of stopping it. Malcolm didn't look away from the hologram. The alien voice resounded once again in their minds. The connection is irreversible. Choose the flow or the end. Isla staggered, holding onto the wall to keep from falling. Ethan took her by the arm. We need a decision now, Ethan shouted. Before they could react, a translucent form emerged from the corridor ahead, a fragment of the entity, shaped in patterns of light and shadow. The presence emanated a mixture of curiosity and power, its empty gaze fixed on Isla. Marcus raised his gun. Don't move, he shouted. The entity advanced slowly, without showing any aggression. Isla took a step forward. Don't shoot. They don't want to fight. I can try to establish final contact. If we can understand their purpose, perhaps we can prevent it from happening elsewhere. Ethan held her arm. Isla, this could destroy you. Or it could save us, she replied, determination in her eyes. The intense glow of the Prometheus station's lights bathed the corridor as Isla Park took the decisive step towards the alien entity. The translucent form pulsed in hypnotic patterns, reflecting fragments of human memories and emotions. Ethan Cole reached out to stop her, but hesitated. Isla's gaze was brimming with determination. "Isla, you don't have to do this. There's still another way out," Ethan shouted, his voice muffled by the growing hum in the air. "This is the only way. If I don't establish the final connection, we'll all be consumed," replied Isla, without looking away from the entity. Malcolm Reyes, still connected to the terminal, shouted to be heard. "The core has reached its critical limit. If we don't stop the interaction now, the entire station will be assimilated." Helena Vargas pressed the communicator. "Central Command, prepare for emergency evacuation. We don't know what will happen next." Marcus Thorne gripped the handle of his weapon, sweat dripping down his forehead as the symbols in his vision intensified. The buzzing in his mind reached its peak. "Isla, come back now," Marcus ordered. The entity extended a luminous appendage towards Isla. The instant she touched it, a white flash filled the corridor, throwing the team to the ground. Fragments of alien thoughts and memories flooded their minds. Visions of civilizations beyond time, worlds torn apart by their own quest for infinity. Isla, now suspended in the air, felt the entity's consciousness merge with her own. In the midst of the chaos, a final message echoed in her mind. "You are the threshold. We watch, but not to destroy." Isla's mind was flooded with images of connected worlds, where the entity guided species beyond their natural limits. At her core, Isla understood the truth. They sought humanity not as adversaries, but as allies for a greater purpose. "The universe is falling apart. We need you to save it. Your essence completes the code of infinity." The station's core vibrated violently. Alarms sounded everywhere. "Isla!" shouted Ethan, struggling to get up. She closed her eyes and, in a last act of will, projected a clear and determined thought. "We will help, but on our own terms." The core responded with a pulse of energy that ran through the entire station. The entity released Isla and began to dissipate, the symbols on the walls gradually fading. The humming ceased. The air became lighter. Isla fell into Ethan's arms, exhausted but alive. The silence that followed was almost deafening. Malcolm checked the console. Alien connection interrupted. System stabilized. Marcus lowered his weapon, his gaze still fixed on the spot where the entity had disappeared. Helena checked Isla's vital signs, letting out a sigh of relief. "She's going to be fine." As the team gathered, one last message appeared on the terminal screen. "Infinity awaits. We will return when the time is right." Comment below what you thought of this story, like the video to help me produce more content like this, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss anything new. The unknown still has a lot to teach us.